Folks, we are now officially on the road to WrestleMania, and if you can tell from the ride that you're currently on, it's a bit of a bumpy one. Because in early December, we were all beginning to speculate that WrestleMania 40 may go down as arguably the greatest match card in professional wrestling history. The roster was stacked, literally from head to toe, as far as the eye can see. From the men to the women, we had megastar after megastar after megastar lined up to have huge marquee matches at WrestleMania. Because in the blink of an eye, all of these plans have just completely gone sideways, and I don't know where WWE plans to take this. Now, I have to admit, I'm a little bit sad that we're not going to be getting some of the matches that we were dreaming for, that were right there, that were realistically a possibility for this year's WrestleMania. However, there's now the part of me that, as a wrestling fan, is kind of digging the fact that I don't know what the hell their plan is. But also part of me is thinking that I don't know what the hell their plan is, because I don't think they have a plan for everything that's happened to them over the last 2 weeks. So let's talk about this incredibly bumpy road to WrestleMania. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications if you're a wrestling fan. I know you're gonna like this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. Here's the thing, I'm nervous and I'm concerned about WrestleMania, and I know that many of you are as well. Actually, weirdly enough, Elmo, the actual Elmo account from Sesame Street, tweeted out, and I'll try my best Elmo impression here, "Elmo's just checking in. How's everybody doing?" Now, I replied to this and I said, honestly, Elmo, I'm a little concerned with all these injuries going into WrestleMania, and nearly 6,000 of you have liked that tweet, so I know that a lot of you are feeling exactly how I'm feeling. Also, apologies if you're gonna lose some sleep because of that Elmo impression. So first, let's talk about the big one in the room, the big elephant, CM Punk, who returned to the WWE after 10 years, returned to roaring ovation in Chicago at Survivor Series, who had his eyes firmly set on Seth Rollins and main eventing his first ever WrestleMania. And that was the match. That was the match that we were all clamoring for. It was the match that you were clamoring for, that your nanny was clamoring for, that your dog was clamoring for. That was the match that we wanted to see. Yes, we were cool with all the other matches, but if there was a match on the card that you were excited for, at the very least for the buildup for it, because we knew that buildup was going to feed families for generations, it was going to be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. And this match was already put into jeopardy by Seth Rollins' original knee injury, but it turned out that Seth Rollins was going to be, at the very least at first glance, fine. That he was choosing to do rehab instead of surgery. However, we know that rehab doesn't always go as intended, so even without the CM Punk injury, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins was always in jeopardy. But no longer is it in jeopardy, because now it's just straight up just not going to happen. I'm going to say this, at first glance, when I was watching the Royal Rumble, I also believed that CM Punk looked a little bit gassed out there, but now learning that he was doing everything that he did in that final sequence with Cody Rhodes with a torn tricep, one arm, and still picking this guy up for GTSs and stuff. If anything, old man Pepsi Phil here impressed the ever-living crap out of me, now knowing the context of the situation. Personally, I think that we all need to, at the very least, slightly apologize for CM Punk for assuming that he was washed up or whatever. It was the injury. Now, CM Punk wasn't just going to be a major player going into WrestleMania. He was clearly also going to be one of the main poster childs for Elimination Chamber, a show that's scheduled to bring in over 70,000 people in Perth, Australia. And my assumption would have been that he either would have been in the actual Elimination Chamber match, perhaps for a #1 contendership against Seth Rollins, or maybe it was going to be a one-on-one match with Drew McIntyre for said #1 contendership, because there was already a really good story and a very good feud, although a side plot between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Interestingly enough, this injury has made this side plot into a main plot, in my opinion, after the amazing promo that Drew McIntyre cut on CM Punk, telling him that he was praying for CM Punk's disgusting, awful injury. So CM Punk not being in Australia, which was a show that was already presumably not going to have Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins, is a huge hit. However, obviously the biggest hit is that we're not gonna get this anymore. It's just not gonna happen. It's not in the books. Maybe it happens if he returns at SummerSlam. Maybe they build up to this for next year's WrestleMania. But this dream match that wasn't a dream, it was a reality that was directly in front of us. isn't going to happen anymore. However, I will say that I'm incredibly impressed with WWE's ability and CM Punk's ability to cut that amazing exit promo on his way out, setting up that obviously going to be fantastic feud with Drew McIntyre whenever it is that CM Punk is able to come back. Obviously, speedy recovery, Phil. Guys, if you like my wrestling content and you want even more wrestling content, consider checking out patreon.com/SantiZap, where you're going to get even more wrestling content. You're going to get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early. You're going to get my Raw reviews, the most recent episode of Raw, the review's already up, NXT, SmackDown reviews, the monthly mailbag, so much more. So come on by. If you already like the daily content here, you're going to like the content over there. Patreon.com/SantiZap. Check the link in the description or the pinned comment. Okay, done selling out. Back to the video. So we talked already a little bit about Seth Rollins, but he's the other looming cloud in all of this. Yes, he says that he will compete at this year's WrestleMania so long as all of the rehabbing goes well. However, there is a long time between now, as of the making of this video, and WrestleMania. Things can go wrong, as we have seen. None of us anticipated a CM Punk tricep tear. Who knows? Maybe this MCL tear becomes worse. And even in the best case scenario of things, it's been confirmed that Seth Rollins is not going to be at Elimination Chamber. He says that he wants his first match to be in March so that his first match isn't that WrestleMania's presumably night one main event. So if his first match is in March, then we can pretty much toss out any notion of him being at Elimination Chamber. But more than anything, again, this is the match that we're all clamoring for that we're no longer going to get. However, this created some interesting opportunities. And what opportunities, you might ask? Well, the opportunity of who is now going to get this opportunity, because you might toss out names like Drew McIntyre. I think the way that they've been building Drew McIntyre, this heel work that he's doing that is arguably some of the best work of his career, could justify him taking this position. A lot of you, including me, had pegged Gunther to be the guy to replace CM Punk. They already teased Gunther and Seth Rollins a couple of Raws ago, and that was a match that all of us would have probably been okay with to be the substitute of Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. However, it seems like the WWE just doesn't want us to know where things are going, because they tossed us yet another curveball by giving us the possibility of Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins 4. A possibility of a match that everyone in the arena collectively booed and chanted no. After giving Seth Rollins 5 minutes to explain his case, everyone was sort of sold on the idea of this happening, because Seth Rollins really sold that World Heavyweight Championship as if it's the Maserati of championships, even though we know it's the Toyota Yaris. But like, jokes aside, he made some fantastic points. He explained to Cody that this is the working man's belt. This is the belt for the guy that's here every week. This is the belt that's there to give other guys opportunities. This is the blue collar belt. This is the Dusty Rhodes belt. And then on top of that, he went in and roasted the WWE Championship. Interestingly, that he left Universal out. Maybe we're doing away with that moniker, and called it the Hollywood Championship, the politicking championship, the championship that you just get to keep because you're at the top of the mountain and you can just talk your way out of not having to work. He called it the Hulk Hogan Championship, which is absolutely hilarious to use Hulk Hogan as an insult towards something. And at the end of this promo, Cody Rhodes says, "I'll think about it." And I'm going to be honest with you, he made an incredibly convincing point, to the point where if this career as a WWE superstar doesn't work out, used car salesman, my man, Seth Rollins, you could sell water to a drowning man with how good you sold this match to all of us. And you know what's interesting? I think part of the reason why this promo hit so hard and why it convinced so many of us is because it felt like Seth Rollins believed every single word that he said. It felt like that wasn't the character Seth Rollins. It felt like that was the performer telling the world how it actually is behind the curtain. It was perfect. So now this brings this into question. I thought we were going to get Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, and we may very well still end up here. However, what was a foregone conclusion is no longer a foregone conclusion. And all of this because of CM Punk's injury, because I don't believe that Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins is even a conversation, is even something that they try to pitch to us, unless CM Punk gets hurt. So maybe this doesn't happen anymore to supplement Seth Rollins not having a marquee match at WrestleMania. Which then begs the question, is this happening at WrestleMania 40? Are we getting Roman Reigns versus The Rock? A match that we believed wasn't going to happen, then we were convinced was going to happen, then we weren't too sure, then we were pretty sure it was going to happen, and now we're like, I think it's for next year. But now, if Roman isn't facing Cody, what the hell does that leave for Roman Reigns? I mean, personally, if they aren't going to do Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, I'd like it to be a singles match between Roman and Randy Orton more than anything. But yeah, now even this everything we have to question, but there's even more involving all of this because not everything was an injury. Some of it was controversy, and that controversy has led to the ousting, the blacklisting of Brock Lesnar, who similarly to everyone on this list was also supposed to be at Elimination Chamber. Are you kind of connecting the dots here? That Elimination Chamber seems to be the most gutted pay-per-view of all time because of all of this. Originally, apparently, which is hilarious, we were supposed to get Brock Lesnar versus Dominic Mysterio. Doubt that this is going to happen now because Brock Lesnar has been ousted from the company and blacklisted from just about anything related to do with TKO and the WWE. Now, don't get me wrong, like I don't think that not having Brock Lesnar is a huge deal. I think the WWE can make do without him. He was already a part-timer to begin with. Sure, he was a cool tool at this point in his career to help elevate somebody, much like he did with Cody Rhodes and much like he could have with the much rumored Gunther. So just like Elimination Chamber, the other party that's been greatly hindered in all of this is Gunther, because all of his options for matches, whether it be for World Heavyweight Championships or for the Intercontinental Championships, seems to be getting tossed by the wayside because this allegedly was the pen down match for WrestleMania 40 for the Intercontinental Championship between Gunther and Brock Lesnar. And yeah, this probably would have been an absolutely fantastic match. Understandable reasons this is not going to happen now. But then maybe, this could end up being a blessing in disguise because in the Royal Rumble, it was Braun Breaker that took the Brock Lesnar spot. Maybe we get Braun Breaker coming up to the main roster and maybe they give us Braun Breaker versus Gunther, which if I'm being honest with you, is a match that is far more appealing to me than part-timer Brock Lesnar versus Gunther. I would much rather see a badass beast a la Brock Lesnar in Braun Breaker who's there full time, who's trying to make a career out of this, versus Gunther, a guy whose career is this on a full-time basis. I feel like that's the more intriguing matchup, if I'm being honest with you. This whole WrestleMania injury bug and changing things around hasn't only affected the men, it's also impacted the women as well. I would say it started impacting the women first. The first one, obviously, like the big marquee one, is the injury to Charlotte, where they're saying that she's gonna be out from anywhere from 8 to 9 months. Now, if I was reading the writing on the wall and reading the tea leaves that WWE was serving me, it felt to me like the WWE was building up to a marquee non-title match between Bianca Belair and Charlotte, and understandably so. This is a money match right here. This is a match that doesn't need a women's title. These are two megastars of their craft that are in their prime that could deliver a fantastic match in any way, shape, or form, any capacity, any show. So it begs the question, like, what do we do now with Bianca Belair now that this presumable match with Charlotte is no longer in the books? Because I doubt that she's going to be the one going after Rhea Ripley. It seems to me like the best narrative thread there belongs to Becky Lynch, and then that leaves Io Sky, who's likely going to be feuding with Bayley. So we have Bianca Belair a little bit in the outs here going into WrestleMania, and that's unacceptable. This is Bianca freaking Belair. She's one of your biggest names in the entire company. Some are tossing out the idea of Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill, an idea that I was a little bit hesitant of at the beginning, but after seeing her aura and the reaction that she got and how she performed at the Royal Rumble, I'm a little bit more inclined to be okay with this. However, Bianca Belair is just leagues ahead of Jade Cargill in terms of in-ring skill. So we're going to need Bianca Belair to really carry this. Apparently, rumors were circulating that Jade Cargill was a little confused in terms of spots during the Royal Rumble match and that people had to walk her through it. Again, it's kind of natural for that to happen considering that was her first match in WWE. So I'm hoping that she'll be fully up to speed and can have a banger of a match with Bianca Belair by then. But then then there's also apparently now Kevin Owens has a broken foot. And apparently he's been working with that broken foot. So who knows? Maybe he's going to power through it, continue through to WrestleMania, or maybe this broken foot gets so bad that he's going to have to get surgery. There's the still looming injury of Rey Mysterio. I don't know if he's scheduled to come back anytime soon. There's Sheamus, who's still out there. And then, of course, there's all the other plethora of WWE superstars that have been off television, like the Big E's of the world, Alexa Bliss's, Braun Strowman's, that we still don't know if they're going to be back in time for WrestleMania. Fellas, I'm a little concerned, I'm not gonna lie. However, I'm also a little bit excited in terms of where things take us. What's that old saying? Man plans and God laughs. It feels like this is what we're going through because we had a perfect plan ready to execute, and all of it it just came crumbling down, and we have to restart more or less from zero to give us a awesome WrestleMania 40 that I'm confident WWE will still deliver on. It's just funny how all of this just disappeared in the blink of an eye. Folks, what are your thoughts? Where do you think the dominoes should land? Who should face who at WrestleMania? This is your opportunity to fantasy book with me down in the description of this video. That's it. I'm done. Get out of here.